And I forgot to turn the recording back on. Why can I not see myself? Oh yeah, there I am. So anything that allows you to take PDFs and annotate them and then flatten that image so that it saves the PDF as well as all of your annotations, that's all you really need. And you're gonna find this useful for taking notes on primary literature, which is what this is. This is a article that we read in my animal behavior class, and these are my notes on it. We're going to be getting your digital files from you. We're going to be annotating them in this way and sending back our comments to you on them this way. And so it just ends up being a really efficient way, even not in the age of COVID, to do things, but it's going to become necessary to do things this way now.
Yeah, okay. There's a free one that I can post.
Okay.
All right.
A lot of this next section that is about course policies is just essentially school policies that we've just copied and pasted into the syllabus. We expect you to be here every day in lecture, and we expect you to be at lab. You'll see that there is a section down here that talks about lab activities, and we'll talk to you about which ones can be done asynchronously and which ones we need you to be in lab for. We're not a big fan of allowing makeup exams, but if you have school functions or if you're ill to the point that you can't take an exam, et cetera, you just need to let us know and we can work around those things. All of our exams are going to be administered online this semester, so we're going to rely on you to abide by the honor code, and we're going to do our best to create online exams that really stress getting out what you've learned that can be taken online successfully by you. Classroom community, this once again is all language that we've received from the administration on the Zoom video presence. But then there's a section that is ours that is the Zoom etiquette. So we would like you to have your video on so we can see your faces and your facial expressions. I saw that, who asked a question a few minutes ago? Tessa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard your voice. I didn't see you raise your hand digitally. So you can raise your hand, but chances are if Dr. Judd or I are in the process of going through a PowerPoint presentation with you, we're probably not going to see that. So you should just do exactly what you did, which is interject with your voice. And as soon as you do that, we know that you're there and you have a question and we can address that. If you sit there and wait with your hand raised digitally, we're not going to see that necessarily until maybe it's too late to address the question at the time when it would have been most relevant to address it. So behave just like you would in class. If you were in class with us, you might raise your hand while we're turned around writing something on the board, and then you would probably say something to get our attention. We would turn around and address that. Just do the same thing here. Generally stay muted when you don't want to speak, so we don't hear dogs and whatever else is in the background. But remember that you can also unmute yourself with the spacebar whenever you need to. You just need to hold down the spacebar for the duration of when you want to talk. We will ask you questions a lot in this class. Just jump right in if you want to take a shot at answering the question. If we experience a protracted silence, we generally are in the habit of then we start calling on people specifically about that question. There's a statement in here about what COVID safe practices are because we're meeting online synchronous for lecture. That's pretty self-explanatory, but for lab, things might get a little dicier because we are going to be interacting with one another, both in lab and also out in the field, although out in the field is the safest place that you can be.
I had a question about the Zoom etiquette.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Who,
using my
who's this?
iPad. This is Daniel again.
Oh, hey, Daniel.
So I'm using my iPad, and there's a split screen feature, and I have both of the books that are required digitally on my iPad.
Uh-huh.
And so when I use a split screen feature with Zoom and the PDF, it turns off my camera.
Oh, okay. Do you have a computer that you could run one or the other of them off of? Or is the iPad the only thing you have?
Yeah, but it's a desktop. Yeah, I mean, yes,
Okay.
I could.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending you a survey to everybody in the class. And on that survey, we're going to ask you questions about whether you have access to transportation and what your computer access is, because those are two important things. Transportation for lab. If we have a lot of people without cars, we have to work out ways of getting you safely to the field site. And in terms of computers, we need to know what you have computer-wise so that we can deal with issues like this. If there's a legitimate reason for you not to have your video, then that's fine. Once again, it's just going to be hard enough connecting as it is. So having video is sometimes, well, is oftentimes useful. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have a workaround for that. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, so office hours. We both plan on being in our office during office hours. We just ask that when you come to office hours that you mask up, just to keep population density down on campus. I suspect that Dr. Judd and I will be away from campus when we're not actually on campus with required duties. So if you need to see us outside of office hours, it's really important that you make an appointment with us. And we can meet with you outside of office hours, either in person or on Zoom. But in both of those cases, we need to know that you're coming in the case of a Zoom meeting so that we can set that up. And in the case of an on-campus appointment, if we were planning on being off campus, we want to make sure that we're there when you're planning on coming to see us. Our office hours are posted on the front page of the syllabus. So during those times, you should just expect us to be in our offices. Dr. Judd's at the top, and then mine are at the bottom. I've tried to schedule mine around classes, so I have office hours right before this class meets, right after the lab on Tuesday meets, and right before the lab on Thursday meets. So I've tried to arrange them at times when I suspect you might be free. But once again, if those times don't work for you, by all means, make appointments with us.
Yeah, appointments work reasonably well for us. And if for some reason you feel more comfortable meeting via Zoom during the official office hours, that's fine as well. Remember, these office hours are student hours. It's time that we might be doing stuff, but the time we've designated to be here for you outside of class.
Yeah, and by all means, if you don't feel like being in an office with somebody because of coronavirus concerns, then by all means, we can meet with you on Zoom. Yeah. One of you have already sent us an accommodation statement. So if you're covered by the American with Disabilities Act, you can get that cleared with Missy Henry. She sends us what your accommodations are, and then we meet with you to work out how specifically that gets worked out in the class. There's an honor code that is campus-wide. There's a late assignment thing that is also campus-wide. We have due dates for things. You'll see these in the syllabus or in the schedule once we get to that. If for some reason you're having a difficulty with making a particular deadline and have a good reason for it, once again, by all means, the thing to do is to talk to us about it rather than just not turn something in. There's an official sexual harassment policy. The best thing you can do is just be a good-hearted human being, and you will avoid all of that, but there are policies and procedures for dealing with that when it comes up.
It is good to take time to read that all the way through, though. You'll see it on other syllabi. So take a moment, read it all the way through. And
if something happens to you, there are people that you can report it to. know that if you talk to Dr. Judd or I about any issues like this, if you've been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, we are what are known as mandatory reporters. You can't come to us and talk to us about it and ask us to not tell anyone. We are required by law to then report it to Julie Dubinsky. So we fall into the category of mandatory reporters, which applies to all faculty, all staff, all of your coaches. All of these people are mandatory reporters. So we don't really want these things to happen on our campus, and so we should be aware of them so that we can ferret them out. Nathan, you were going to say something.
I was going to say that mandatory reporters mean we will specifically only tell this person.
Oh yeah. There's a person that we report it to, and but we're required to report it to that person. We'll communicate with you via email periodically. If we contact you after a certain time of the day, after like 5:30, we won't expect you to act on that before the next day, because that's unreasonable. In the same way, you shouldn't expect us to react to that, an email sent at 10 o'clock at night before the next day, because hopefully we're at home enjoying dinner and things like that. And then the drop date is on there. Nathan, can you take them through kind of what we do with grading?
Yeah, okay, so this, our grading scheme for lecture and lab in this class is similar across the biology department. So you're gonna have assignments and exams in lecture, and that's for your 4 credit hours of lecture, but you're also gonna have some points that come from lab. In this course, we take all of those points at the end of the semester and put them together, and you'll get the same grade for the lecture course as the lab course. That's different than, I think, as in chemistry, which some of you might see. So if you get some grade that you're tracking on Moodle for the lecture, know that in the end, your lab grade will be included in that as well. We're going to total up at 1,260 points for the whole course. That includes the lab, and we've got a breakdown of that down below on the next page. Some of your points are going to come from participation. So that means hitting that space bar, contributing, right, as we ask you all questions. Let's see. We've got some preparation homework. So sometimes you'll have homework before class, sometimes you'll have it after class. These preparation assignments will be graded when you come into class, turn in that preparation assignment, and as long as you complete that work by the beginning of class, you'll get those points. And then we'll talk about the concepts you've been introduced to during that homework. Those assignments are going to add up to about 75 of the total of 1,260 points for the course. So we had 1,260, yeah. And we're going to do that by doing that as a percentage. So we'll have several of these participation assignments over the course of the semester, and however many there are in the end, we'll weight it appropriately according to that. In terms of in-class participation, we're going to create groups for you all, and your groups are going to you'll have a little group name, something like that, and you'll all work together to keep your group participation points up. So if everyone's equally participating, then your group will score well. And the reason we do it that way is if you've got your group of maybe 5 people, one of them is someone who's real active, ready to talk all the time, we're not going to call on that person every single time they raise their hand, or whenever there's a moment of silence, we're not going to go to that person first, right? We'll go to someone who hasn't participated as much. So you don't want your group to be dependent on participation of one person. Similarly, once we get a participation point system worked out for everyone at the end of the semester, we will we'll weight that appropriately in terms of how the grade breakdown at the end as well. So participation is going to be an important part of your grade, and it's going to be something we want to dole out fairly. And that means encouraging those of you who might be on the quieter side to get comfortable talking with us and with the class, and not letting a few people dominate, which can happen sometimes. Literature summaries. One of the best things about this course, for any of you who are going to go into the sciences, is you're going to learn how to read scientific literature, primary articles right away. And in part of that process, that learning process is going to be writing literature summaries. These are 2-page papers that are summaries of articles that we're going to read in class. That's what's in bold here under literature summaries. You're going to have, is it 3 of those over the course of the semester? And you'll, excuse me, I lost my spot here. Oh, and at the end, you're going to learn about peer review, basically reviewing other people's writing, providing positive, constructive feedback, and then you'll get similar positive, constructive feedback. One of the things you're going to learn quite a bit here is critique and criticism are not negative in this context. It's the value that we add that moves us forward. So you'll get comfortable with critiques, giving them and taking them, and not taking it personally, but knowing that it's a tool for improving your work and your thinking. We've got a pretest that you'll have access to fairly soon. This is going to give us a baseline of what things you guys have already learned, what things you think you've already learned, maybe misconceptions, that sort of thing. And that'll be 20 points just for completing it. You don't have to worry about what grade you get on it. We just want you to complete that pretest. There'll be a post-test.
Although we want you to do your best on it.
For sure, right? That's the idea. We want to know what you know. And if you don't do your best, we won't know what you know. There's a post-test that corresponds. That's going to be built into the final. As you complete assignments, especially doing all this stuff electronically, we're not going to be handing out paper versions of these assignments. It's important to back up your work, make sure things are safe. You don't want to be working on something and then have it suddenly be lost and you have no access to it, right? You don't want some auto update to mess you up. So back your work up. Got a breakdown of the assignments here. You can see the exams. We'll have 3 exams over the course of the semester, 100 points each. A final. We mentioned that the participation points are going to depend on how many assignments we have and how many points you all earn in your groups. Those are all going to be weighted in the end, so we get to this 150 points. Your 3 literature summaries, 50 points each. Pretest, and then we want you all to visit us in the office hours, either in person or virtually, and you'll get some points out of that.
Nathan, how soon do you want them to do that?
I think sometime in the first 2 weeks would be good, right? I think.
Okay. Yeah, so that get to know you thing is we want you to either stop by the office or schedule a Zoom meeting with us so that we can talk to you one-on-one. Once again, it's just an effort for us to get to know you, know who you are, associate a name with a face. We've done this in the past when we were doing face-to-face classes because it helps us at the beginning of the semester get to know you. And it's, once again, probably even more important when we are not in face-to-face on a kind of daily basis to do this.
You also might find it useful to know where our offices are if you haven't walked down the hallway here to find us. So that was traditionally one of the values of this getting to know you assignment. You can find us. And then we've got a separate table here for lab assignments. And we've modified this to some extent for this new semester. Things are a little bit different here, but you're going to get several points over the process of learning how to make observations, develop questions based on those observations, and develop hypotheses based on those questions. We're going to do an experimental design and sort of data management exercise so you can get some best practices when it comes to gathering data. And then the rest of this is going to be built around creating a lab report based on your research, based on your data that you collect, and the question you answer with those data. Some of this is going to be synchronous, some of this is going to be asynchronous, and we have that all clarified in the daily schedule that you'll see in a little bit. In the end, you'll have a written lab report that you will have gotten feedback from your peers on how to make it a really good one, and that'll be worth a substantial number of points for the lab section. In the end, you might be interested in how to convert the numbers of points into the letter grades. This is a breakdown here. You've probably seen that before. And we're going to be watching to see how this goes, looking at the points, looking at participation, that sort of thing, and watching the threat levels change. Since we're synchronous, threat level changes shouldn't do much for our course, but they might affect other courses you have. Anyway, all this is to say that we're going to be flexible, and we've written that flexibility into the syllabus here. So watch for changes, but if we make any changes, you will know about them. We'll tell you about them. That'll be clear.
So in the same folder, and unfortunately it's really small on my screen, can you guys see an Excel file with a bunch of blue and yellow colors on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we have a detailed daily schedule. So which week we're in the first week. Today we're just talking about the syllabus. Because of COVID, we would normally not start with the syllabus. It would normally be on the third day after we've done the group case study. But with COVID procedures and policies and things like that, we rearranged it because we felt it was important to actually go through those things with you at the beginning. So it has whatever the activity is for the given date. It has any readings that you need to do, if there are any products that are due, and then just other notes. For Friday, we're going to be doing the COOT case study. We want you to read Smith & Smith sections 1.1 to 1.5 in box 1.2. We're going to continue with COOT case study, and there will be a syllabus quiz in there. That's one of your homework assignments. So for each day, there are things that you need to read, and then there are also things that you need to prepare and bring with you periodically. And so it's very detailed what we're going to be doing, who's doing it. I'm the blue, Dr. Judd is the yellow, and then days that don't have a color are days when we're both kind of interacting with you, especially on things like discussing primary literature. So that takes you.
Are we going to lose you?
What's that?
Are we going to lose you if you don't plug? Are we going to lose you if you don't plug in? Here.
Oh, did it say? Who, me?
I thought it was you because you're sharing your screen, but it looks like it's me. Let me wiggle the outlet here.
I am plugged in. Okay, anyway. So this gives you a day-by-day, blow-by-blow thing of what we're going to be doing. You'll notice that the exam dates are on there. They will not move. You can expect those exams to come on those days. You will also see that there are days when we have literature summaries due. As we approach literature summaries, we'll give you more information about those, but they're in the products due column in this spreadsheet. The thing that we want to talk to you most about, though, is how lab is going to proceed. In semesters past, we've had you develop your own research project, and we don't really have time before you leave at Thanksgiving to go through that process with you. So we're going to take you through some of the question development phases of what we would normally do at the beginning, but then we've created a research project that we're all going to work together on as a class. And so at the beginning of this, we're going to do some things that are synchronous in the lab. So you'll need to be in lab at the time the lab is offered. But then there are other weeks that are asynchronous that involve being in the field. And while you could do this activity at any time in the field, as long as it's daylight, it's easier to do it in the daylight, you don't have to do it asynchronously. We recommend actually that you do this during the lab time, because while we're in lab, Dr. Judd and I will be out in the field where you're going to be doing these things, and so you can rely upon us to be there and assist you with that and answer your questions during that lab time. So even though it says asynchronous, it doesn't mean that that's what we recommend. It's just that that's what's possible. We recommend that you actually be out there with us with social distancing and all that. But weeks when it says synchronous in lab, we want you to be in lab during the lab time. Synchronous online, this was an activity that we thought that we could do effectively online. So once again, just to reduce contact, we're going to do it online. But data collection, once we get you started on the project that we've dreamed up for you, that data collection can literally be done at any time. You don't have to do it during the lab time, although once again, you do have that block of time blocked off in your week. So that's what these
Have the
notations
advantage of-
are. What's that?
You have the
Nathan?
you have the advantage of doing the work as early as you like in order to not end up doing it at the last minute.
Yeah, sure. So that's what the synchronous and lab synchronous online and asynchronous all refer to. And then once again, towards the end, you see that you're spending a certain amount of time doing peer review of one another's work. And once again, that peer review can also be done asynchronously. You don't have to be sitting in a lab somewhere to be reading somebody's paper. And then we're going to have your lab report due after Thanksgiving. But you should have all of the data analysis done. You should actually have a complete rough draft written that has been reviewed a couple of times in the case of the introduction and the methods, and has been reviewed once in terms of the results in the discussion. So you're going to get a lot of time to spend writing and to work on writing.
Any questions about that lab?
Okay, we've now spent a ton of time talking at you about the dullest thing in the world, which is the syllabus. If you go to Moodle, and now I have to find my way to where that I can see my bar here. Where is Moodle? I've lost Moodle. In the folder for today's class, there is a thing called Coot Photos. Your assignment for Friday is I want you to open up that PowerPoint, and when we think about observation, oftentimes we think about seeing things. I want you to look at those photos. One is a photo of a mom and a baby coot, and then one is a photo of a group of baby coots. So 2 photos. We want you to look at those photos, and we want you to to make 5 observations based on those photos. And one of the things that we want to concentrate on this semester is thinking about variation among individuals. So as you look at these photos, you can make all kinds of general observations if you want about the coots that are in the photos. If you can make observations that are related to variation among individuals, that would be even better. And bring those, well, put those in a digital document and have those available for you when you come to class on Friday. We're going to put you in small groups, and you're going to start going down the path of taking those observations, generating questions from those observations. So expect a lot of group work. While you're in those groups, Dr. Judd and I will be able to join those groups, and so we'll join the group and then leave a group and join another group and leave a group. And so we're going to try and simulate the kinds of things that we normally do in class. And there's a question here from Connor. It's 5 observations total. So just 5 observations, and have those ready to go on Friday.
If your mind's racing, you get a whole bunch of them, pick your 5 favorite.
Sure. Any questions?
Is it 5 observations for each photo or in all?
Nope. Just 5 observations total.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. And on Friday, we will hear a lot more of you talking and a lot less of us talking. So that'll be nice. All right.
All right. See you Friday.
See you Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.